Student Progress Report, or SPR. This recording will focus on the introduction to the new Student Progress Report, new interface, workflow, SPR best practices, and frequently asked questions. Student Progress Reports are submitted quarterly. Students can access the reports in the LMS in the Report Center tab. Reports can be accessed across different devices, including smartphones and tablets, as well as across different web browsers. The SPR has a new interface and has new features, such as print and save option, connectivity with LMS, checkboxes, lists, drop-down menus, and reference resources. The SPR workflow involves completion of following steps completed by the instructor, the LHS office, and the student. Instructors have to access report input page, select and confirm benchmarks, student status and level module, input achievements, input next steps, save draft, and send final report. Office staff will verify report and send email to students. Students will access Report Center and discuss the report with their teacher. Instructors are responsible of completing the student progress reports in the LMS quarterly. Reports are required for all students who have been in the program for more than 6 months and for transfer students who have been in the new class for more than 3 months since transfer. Student progress report deadline is at midnight on the following days: January 15th, April 15th, July 15th, and October 15th. Instructors are reimbursed 30 minutes for each report submitted on time. Flat profile report is needed for students who do not show any benchmark movement within 6 months in at least one skill. SPR reports should document successfully completed assessments based on the CLBs. In order to do so, instructors must engage in task-based CLB assessment in each skill competency area and keep track of assessments completed during each quarter. After reports are completed and students have access to them, instructors set aside time during their weekly calls to discuss the report with students. It is recommended that instructors share the can-do statements with students to help them understand the CLBs and the competency areas. Please note that any changes to benchmarks, status, or module are to be made in the student progress report during the 2-week report period and not in the LMS call details. Start documenting task-based assessments and select a minimum of 1 achievement. You do not need to enter achievements for each skill. To enter reports, log in to LMS and click on the Report Input page in the Progress Reports tab. This is a new feature located in the left-hand side menu. This will direct you to the Input page. Teachers have access to the Student Progress Report Input page for a 2-week period prior to the report deadline. You will be notified by email at the start of each report period. The report input page lists all students who require a report. Students who have an edit icon beside their name require a report. If there is no icon, a report is not needed. If a student requires a report, click on the edit icon beside his or her name. This will direct you to the Student Progress Report input page. SPR is divided into three main sections: student information, achievements, and next steps. We will now review each of these sections separately. Student information section includes information on student name, report period, benchmarks, student status, level or module, and attendance. With the student progress, you can select any of the current benchmarks to increase. You can increase only by one benchmark level at a time. For example, increase writing benchmark from 2 to 3, but not from 2 to 4. Once you increase the benchmark, the system automatically selects benchmark progress as the student status. If there is no benchmark change in any skill, then the status remains attending. You can skip to next section to enter achievements and next steps without changing any benchmarks. If you increase multiple benchmarks and the level increases as a result, the system automatically selects module progress as the student status. For example, the reading benchmark changed from 3 to 4 and the level has changed from 4 to 5. When all 4 skill areas increase to benchmark 8, the student status automatically changes to graduate and withdraw. You can transfer or withdraw a student in the Student Progress Report by changing the student status. You can enter the transfer or withdraw in the SPR when the student status is attending, benchmark progress. To access the transfer or withdraw option, click on the downward facing arrow in the Student Status tab. Instructors can increase the module, that is level, without changing any of the benchmarks. This option is available if you want your student to start completing some exercises, for example readings, in a higher module without changing any of the benchmarks. For example, simply select level 6 instead of level 5. Once you're done with the updates, make sure benchmarks, level, and student status are correct and move to Achievement section. This is section 2 of the report. In the Achievements, you can report on task-based assessment that your student has completed successfully. You should select a minimum of 1 achievement per quarter. You do not need to enter achievements for each skill, and you do not need to increase benchmarks if you indicate that the student completed an assessment successfully. Also, you can continue to select the same skill or competency over a series of reports if the assessment is ongoing. You should never increase the benchmark if you haven't documented and reported achievements for the increased benchmark. To enter an achievement, click on the skill and competency to assess successfully. If you're not certain of what assessment is suited for a skill or competency, hover your cursor over the info icon. When you click on a skill or competency, You have the option of entering a comment for that assessment. Click on the edit icon to enter your comment. Comments are limited to 190 characters. Please note that students will receive a copy of their SPR. Your comment should be readable to your student and should include relevant feedback on their learning. Move on to the next skill or competency you would like to enter. Finish entering all achievements, and when you're done, move to Next Step section. This is the last section of the report. In the next steps, make specific and detailed reference to learning outcomes planned for the next report quarter. Students receive a copy of their report, so the next steps section should be easy to read. Make reference to specific CLB outcomes to be taught or assessed in the upcoming 3 months. Also, include LHS curriculum you plan to teach, review, assess. Where possible, add specific deadlines for these learning goals. This section can also include comments on student attendance and homework completion. For example, you can write, students should spend more time completing LMS exercises every week. Comments should be relevant to the specific student and their learning plan. Never copy and paste the same comments from one quarter to another or from one student to another. When you finish a report, you have the option to save it as a draft before submitting it to the office. Click on Save Draft at the bottom of the report input page. When you have saved the report as a draft, you can return to it at a later time to edit it. When the reports are completed, click on Send Report. Once you send your report, you can no longer make changes. Make sure your reports are submitted before the deadline. You can track which reports are saved as drafts and which reports have been sent to the office as the final version. To track report submissions, open the Student Progress Report input page under Progress Reports in the LMS. The icons that appear beside each student's name indicate the status of the report. Once the reports have been verified by Lincoln Study Office staff, students receive an email notification that their reports are ready to view. You will be copied on the email message. When students receive the email, they are prompted to click on the report link to access their reports. Correspondence students and online students can both access their reports online, but the login will be different. Correspondence students access their reports by clicking on the link provided in the alert email and entering their student verification ID. The student verification ID is their student ID. Both online and correspondence students will have access to the Report Center where they can view the most recent progress report and all archived reports. Please be prepared to share this ID with all correspondence students who need to access a report. The best practice will be to share this ID with students before the alert is emailed, so students are prepared to access their progress reports without delay. Instructors and students have access to all student progress reports. These reports can be accessed under the Progress Reports tab. Click on the Report Center. In the Report Center, a teacher can select the name of an active student and the report period. These reports are available as the PDF files. In addition to selecting reports individually, you can also download all reports in a single PDF. Select All to download all reports. Student reports include those reports submitted for a student by previous teachers as well. Teachers who have your students in the future will have access to the reports you submit for that student. This helps a teacher track learning progress, student issues related to attendance, homework, etc. It also exposes the quality of reports to other teachers and to students. If reports are poorly done, there is little to no useful information on learning history. Since these reports are not only for office use but shared with students, it is important to discuss some of the best practices. Add comments that are relevant to completed assessments and students. Select at least one assessment achievement in at least one skill per report. Please be reminded that you do not need to increase the benchmark when you enter an achieved assessment. Enter achievements based on successful completed assessment tasks for the correct CLB level. Provide specific and detailed next steps related to students' individual learning plan for next 3 months. Communicate concerns about attendance, homework in the recommendation section. Discuss CLBs and can-do statements with students. Schedule time to talk about reports after they're available. Do not enter benchmark changes, student status changes, or module changes in the call details during the SBR period. These should be entered into the SBR. Develop or enhance system of recording task-based assessments for listening, speaking, reading, writing, or competency. The record should indicate the skill, level, competency, task, date, and outcome. This document can then be used to enter reports more quickly and accurately. And last but not least, submit reports on time. Now let's take a look at some common, frequently asked questions. Do I have to enter details for every skill in the achievement section? No. Enter assessments that were successfully completed in any of the 4 skills competencies. There were no benchmark changes this quarter. What do I do? Do not enter updates for benchmarks, module, or student status. Enter assessments that were successfully completed in any of the 4 skills or competencies. You're not expected or able to assess tasks for each skill competency within a quarter. How much detail is needed for the next step section? Include a specific and detailed learning plan that references listening, speaking, reading, writing competencies that will be reviewed or assessed in the next quarter. Teachers can also share notes about attendance or homework issues. What time frame does the attendance capture? The quarter being assessed. When submitting the report in July, the attendance will reflect the report from April 16th to July 15th. Do I have to enter attendance statistics? No. Attendance data is automatically generated by the report. If I enter an achievement for a skill, do I have to increase the benchmark? No. Only increase the benchmark when you have successfully assessed the competencies for each skill. Best practice for Link-Home study is to have at least 3 of the 4 competencies successfully assessed before increasing the benchmark for that skill. Do I have to enter comments when I add an achievement? Yes. Remember that the student progress report is intended for your student. It is the best practice to share comments on the assessments you enter in the achievement section. You can enter comments in point form or narrative. The maximum number of characters is 190, so be concise. Can I increase the benchmark without recording any assessments for that skill? No. If you increase the benchmark in any skill, you must also record successfully completed assessments for that skill. Can I write in point form, or must the reports be in narrative form? The best practice is to tailor the report to your student. Point form notes are acceptable as long as the language is accessible and suitable to the student reading the report. What does the level represent? The level represents the LHS modules and corresponds to the link level, not to be confused with the CL below. What would qualify as an assessment for the purpose of the student progress report? A real-world task or task-based assessment based on the CLBs? Do students have access to all historical reports? No. Moving forward, students will have access to historical SPRs only, but not the QRs completed prior to July 1st, 2019. Do students get access to their reports once I submit them? No. Office staff first review and verify reports. Once reports are verified and errors corrected, students will be given access to them. Do correspondence students get a copy of their reports too? Yes. Correspondence students have online access to their reports. What is the student verification or student ID? The reference number and the student ID number are synonyms. The reference number is provided in the first field of the LMS student information window. Is there a student training for the reports? Yes. Students will receive live training during their orientation to the LMS, and the training video is available for them to watch on the LMS video tutorials. When are reports sent to students? Students who had a report submitted will receive an email alert. The email alert has a hyperlink to their report that they can access online. Can students use the report for their benchmark certification? No. SPRs do not replace benchmark certificates when submitting a citizenship application. Should I have a student conference after the reports are sent? Yes. It is a best practice to take some time during your weekly class to review reports with students and discuss the next steps for the upcoming quarter. Have the report periods changed? No. Report periods remain the same: January, April, July, and October. Who should I contact if I need to submit my report after the deadline? If you missed the progress report deadline, notify the help desk for instructions. Do we still get paid for reports? Yes, you are reimbursed half an hour per report submitted before the deadline. Do I have to save a PDF version of report for my records? No. You have the option to save reports on our hard drive, but it is not a requirement. Are reports needed for new students? No. Only for students who have been in the program for 6 months. Also, students transferred to you from another Link Home Study teacher will need a report after 3 months. How do I know which students need a report? Log into the LMS. Click on the Report Input Page tab. The Report Input page will have a list of all of your students. Will I still need to complete flat profile reports? Yes. Students who show no progress in any skill for over 6 months will need a flat profile report. If you need help with SBRs, get in touch with me, Natasha, Instructor Support.